a boxing betting expert.
I know, David.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
He really gets into the nitty-gritty of this whole thing.
Andy, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm very pleased to finally get some time with you. I know it's been a very busy time, so looking forward to getting your sort of perspective of how you see the fights, because from my point of view, the interactions I've had with you, you seem to have a very sort of strong analytical mind about what you see. You cut through the noise, so I'm excited to get into that in a bit more detail.
I'm looking forward to it too.
And so just as an introduction, I know you have your own podcast, which is about true crime. Just briefly talk to me about that.
We do, yeah. So it's a true crime podcast based mainly on UK and Irish crimes, although we do go worldwide. We've been going just over 3 years now. We've been 2023. We got voted the best best independent podcast for true crime, and actually not for true crime, just the best independent podcast. And we do it for fun, basically, and we co-picture the scene, and we try and put the listeners at the scene of the crime. So we go heavily into descriptions, and then go into the actual crime.
And without going too dark, because we're a family show, do you go into like the well-known crimes, or do you go off piste and find some pretty gritty stuff?
We do the occasional well-known, but it's normally unknown ones.
Right.
I guess for your listeners out there, I had a look at my back catalogue, and our episode 20, while the sound's not great because we'd only just started, we actually covered a boxer. So Carlos Monzon. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
Quite famous.
Yeah.
So we covered him and his crimes and his death.
Episode 20.
I believe it is, yeah. But the sound's not the best because we were still getting started. But yeah.
I'll give that a go this weekend. Great. So so back to the boxing. What do you remember what your first boxing memory is, or the first fight you saw?
There's two different answers there. The first boxing memory is I'm from Sheffield, and I grew up in Sheffield, and it's got a strong link to boxing. And I grew up with people always talking about Harold Graham, Bomber Graham, or the name's gone out of my head. Sorry. But anyway, and yeah, so I was always interested in boxing. I don't remember the first actual fight I watched, but I do remember I grew up in the era of Eubank versus Ben, Frank Bruno fighting, that type of era. So that's the first fights I remember where Eubank and Ben fights.
So but the Sheffield link, Nassim Hamed, Johnny Nelson.
Nelson, that's the one. Yeah, Nassim Hamed was a bit later on, and I liked him. But yeah, it was because it always felt like it was people. I always knew somebody who knew them.
Oh, right.
But I never obviously met them myself. It always felt like because they were in the community. It always felt like they were just really community-led boxers.
Great. So, did you ever box yourself? Did you ever get down to the gym?
No, I tried it once, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, I didn't enjoy being punched in the face. Right. So no, I tried it once and stopped.
Yeah. Okay. Great. What about? Do you ever get to the fights? Have you ever seen any fights live?
Only the amateur stuff. No big ones. I'd love to, but it's always been wrong time, wrong place.
Yeah. Okay. And so that's going back kind of mid-80s. Then you started getting into the sport.
Yeah, mid to late 80s. Yeah, I'd say.
And so, who would you say has been your favourite to watch? Who's the sort of must-watch that you would always tune into since then?
I love Chris Eubank. I just love Chris Eubank. I loved how technical he was. He was really aggressive, but not in the aggressive. He just went all out. But he knew how to punch. He was technical, and I loved his persona. I know he was the bad guy back then, wasn't he? But it was seen as like it was marketed as the bad boy or the baddie. But yeah, I really always liked him.
That's really funny, Andy. So I've done about a dozen of these, and Eubank Ben era often comes up, and everyone sides with Ben, and I keep quiet because I'm a Eubank guy as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, I like Nigel Ben, but he just didn't have the same charisma, I don't think.
Yeah. I think also when you look back at those fights now, when you pull up those, they're incredible. And like you say, Eubank's attitude, I think he's a wonderful fighter to watch. So, what would be the best fight you've sort of seen on TV then?
It would be the first Eubank and Ben one, I would say.
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. And is that your favorite weight division then? The sort of super middleweight? Do you have a favorite?
No. I'm torn. Um, yes, because I like the technical stuff. My favorite is the heavyweight.
Yeah,
But sometimes the heavyweight division can be terrible.
yeah, yeah.
So sometimes it's literally just two people trying to hit each other in the head without much technicality. Not all the time, but so yes, because I like the technical aspect and I like the tactical aspect of it, but I prefer the heavyweight.
Yeah, great. Okay, so what about watching boxing for a good few decades? Has there ever been a time where you wish you could change a rule that would make the sport better or just improve the enjoyment of it?
I tell you what, I would change. There are two rules I would have. Firstly, I would have people just not being able to allowed to be at box past a certain age.
Yeah, great.
Because I just think it does them too much damage physically. But I would also have, now I don't know if this is my memory playing tricks on me, but I'm sure when I was younger, like a child, they used to show you the judges' cards live after
Right.
each round. I'm
Right.
sure that if that's not happened, then I probably imagined it. But I would like that. I'd like to be able to see, not get to the end of a batch, like I watched the recent Fury and Usyk fight, and I don't want to get to the end of the match wondering what they're going to score. I'd like to see, even if obviously the boxers might not know, but see what the judges are thinking.
Yeah. So that first answer is a great one. No one said that yet. I think you're absolutely right. Seeing fight, and they do it. To crazy extent into their 40s and beyond. The open scoring is an interesting one as well. And I think they've tried it before, certainly. Even like reading out the scores every 3 rounds or something. But I agree. There could be, certainly in that Bivol fight, the first one, that could have changed the dynamic of the fight massively if Bivol probably thought he had enough of a lead, but actually he didn't, and it could have been an incredibly exciting last sort of 1 or 2 rounds. And so we've had some great fights in 2024. Can you either sort of highlight your favorite fight that you've watched, or 2025, what you're looking forward to most?
2024. I loved and was equally disappointed by both of the Usyk and Fury fights.
Oh, interesting.
So, I just thought it would be. I thought it would be one for the ages before the first fight. I think it was going that way, but I just think towards the end, I think it was Fury's fight to win, and then I think he he disguised the fact. I think he just got knackered, and I think he realized that he couldn't knock Usyk out, and then he started doing his showboating, and then I just think it went down a little bit. And the second fight, I was heavily disappointed. Obviously, I'm not one of these people who say Fury should have won. I think Usyk won. I think it was a lot closer than the scorecard said it was, but it felt to me like Fury was a little bit scared. And it felt to me like he didn't actually want to be having that fight, which is why he put his weight on in the hope that the extra weight will just knock Usyk down rather than focusing on boxing better than him.
Yeah, I agree. I felt he was fighting to go the distance, not fighting to really win. And then he goes the distance, he can at least claim robbery. But I thought the first fight was spectacular. I really thought everything about that was edge of your seat stuff, swings, and okay. So, and what about looking forward to 2025? Or any sort of standout fights?
I don't have any. I'm just having a look at the card now because I know you mentioned the 22nd. I just don't think I'm focusing mainly on the heavyweight, but like what really excites you? I know you got Dubois versus Parker, and would it be good? I don't know. There isn't anything at the moment, although I haven't really looked at the calendar too much, if I'll be honest.
Okay, so so going back then again, so with all your sort of history of watching this sport, and I know you've got a strong betting background, what's the sort of best hot take you've had in the sport where you've just felt, yeah, I've got this one right?
Fury to back Wilder, and it's I mean, I lost money on one of the fights, but I expected like each fight, and I tend not to gamble against boxers I like because I like to watch.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be spoiled by the fact that I might lose money, but that's one of the few ones I backed. And I always back Pacquiao back in the day because I used to live in the Philippines for a couple of years.
Oh wow!
And the amount of love he has is just the how the country reacts and the people react to him when he was boxing.
Yeah, sure.
It made me want to bet on him. And I love watching him anyway. Such a good fighter.
Brilliant.
But yes, I would say that. But I would say probably when I just instinctively bet, I would say it would be on Fury against Wilder.
Do any stand out where you've just got it embarrassingly wrong?
Yes, it was. It was. I can't remember who he was fighting, but who was the guy that knocked Prince Nazim out or knocked him down?
Oh, to start with, Prescott.
Yeah, when he lost his first.
Bradis Prescott, was it?
I can't remember, to tell you the truth, but I didn't expect that. I don't think the world expected that, did they? But
no,
I didn't expect that.
I think you're forgiven for getting that one wrong. But yeah, it certainly changed the trajectory of his career. Okay, so back up to the heavyweights. Who do you have as like either your favorite heavyweight of all time in history, or the best, or your favorite?
My favorite is Tyson.
Mike Tyson.
Without a shadow of doubt. When he was good and focused on his boxing, Tyson, he was just edge of your seat watching because just of the power and the aggression. I've grown to like. I used to dislike with a passion Lewis
Lennox.
when he was actually fighting.
Yeah.
But I've watched his fights since.
Yeah.
And I appreciate he was an excellent boxer. So like with hindsight, I really like Lewis.
Right.
I like where he boxed. Are you talking about upsets? I mean, I didn't bet on it, but the Raheem fight, when he lost to South Africa, that was I'd say the biggest upset I've seen. I wasn't expecting. I mean, it's obvious why he lost, but again with hindsight. But so I'd say Tyson when I was watching his fights live on the telly. But since then, I appreciate Lewis for the heavyweight. Yeah.
Well, Lennox, I think that rematch against Rackman was one of his best because I think he got knocked out by Rackman in 5, was it? And then he got revenge in 4, I think. Or he did.
But he controlled the fight though. That rematch,
really?
he controlled the fight from the very first bell up until he knocked him out. So I think that was actually. I think that was a masterclass in boxing, and I'd have loved to have seen that go the distance just to see the quality of boxing. I wouldn't be fair on Raheem, but because obviously he would have been destroyed, wouldn't he? But that was such a good fight.
That's a really interesting take, because it was such a good performance by him. You wanted more of it, but we also got that wonderful footage of Rackman lying dead center in the ring with the Don King crown on his head. It couldn't have been more perfect.
And also though, just to go back on that one, if you compare Lewis to how he came back in for his second fight to Tyson Fury, how he came back in his second fight, I think Fury could have learned a lot of lessons from that. Lewis obviously was focused and he wanted to show he was the best, and he only had like 2 or 3 fights after that because
it's almost done by then.
But just the focus on the fact that you could tell watching him go to the ring before the first bell, you could tell you knew it was his fight. He was just purely focused.
I think the difference is Lennox Lewis had that incredible combination of being a brilliant boxer but also a big puncher, whereas Fury is a great boxer, but I don't think he's a big puncher. So I think he knew that all the talk of stopping Usyk was not a real. He had to get the decision. He had to get a grubby decision. The stoppage was very unlikely, whereas Lennox knew the stoppage is always there for him throughout his career, even in those last few fights. So with the Sheffield link, did you ever meet any of the fighters connected with them?
No, I didn't. Unfortunately, I'd have loved to, but no, it just never.
Yeah.
It never happened.
Okay, and never met any other boxers, any pros?
No. I mean, I've interacted,
Mm-hmm.
and he was the world's worst gambler. What he'd basically do is spend hours boxing 50p, stop boxing, betting 50p £1 at a time on individual numbers on the roulette.
Right.
Until he obviously thought he spotted a pattern. And after a couple of hours, he would bet 10, 20 grand on one number, lose every time, go back to like 50p pounds for a couple of hours, and then again. And he obviously in his head thought, I can beat the system here. And we spoke to him a few times, and yeah, he was never the happiest man, but as you'd imagine. But yeah,
Wow.
so obviously you can't put that out for the recording, but it's he's the only one I've interacted with. Yeah,
that's an extraordinary story. Yeah, I enjoyed that. That's terrifying. Wow. Okay, love that. What about? Is there anything you think you do differently when you're assessing a fight, like? And either during it when you're scoring it, because I know you score the fights, or beforehand when you're analysing them?
Beforehand, I always just try and see the value in everything. It's not necessarily always the outcome of the fight. It depends on the market, which is why I don't mean to give you blow smoke up you, but which is why I enjoy seeing what you put out there.
Yeah,
because it's quite obvious you're looking for the value, and you're not the type of person who goes, "Oh, here's a 1 to 10 shot. Why don't you back this one because it might win?" Which is not really intelligence. But so beforehand, I try and see the value, and the only way to see the value is just by doing the research, and then you understanding what you're actually watching. It doesn't matter if it's boxing or any other sport. If you don't understand it, you can't see the value, because you have to put your own pricings on what you think will happen, and then you're looking obviously what the bookmakers are doing, and if there's a difference, you're backing it. Value doesn't mean this. Value doesn't mean you're going to win every time. Value means you're seeing where you can potentially take an advantage of whoever's price the odds.
I think that is such an important distinction to make, and you might be referring to the first Usyk Fury article I put out, because I said I wanted to back Usyk to win an upset, but he wasn't. It was 50-50 in the betting, so the odds to back him to win it as an upset weren't available because the price wasn't big. So I was forced to back Tyson Fury in that first fight because I thought Usyk would win an upset. You know, I predicted Usyk would win, but I didn't want to back him at even money, or 5 to 6, whatever it was.
Exactly.
So are you? You're obviously into the podcast, but any other sort of boxing podcasts you listen to, or is there a boxing book or movie that stands out that you'd recommend?
I mean, I loved the one was it called The Fighter with Christian Bale?
Yeah, great.
Is that what it's called? That's a great film.
Mark
I've started watching. I've heard one of your fellow guests speak about it, the documentary with Lewis, Ben Eubank, and that on is it on Sky? I've only I've only 1.5 episodes into that. So but yeah, it's bringing back a lot of memories. But other than that, I'd say no, there isn't much else apart from yours, obviously.
Oh, of course, thank you. Okay, so the final thing I want to know if you have a feeling about, because since you're a Ben Eubank fan from the 90s, do you have a feel for, first of all, whether we're going to see the fight, but if we do, who wins between Ben and Eubank Jr.?
Well, if you're going to see the fight, is the same answer to who's going to win. I loved Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn. I've never been able to either watch any of the sons fight either against each other or other people. I never even read or watch anything about it because it's like when you watch like when Tyson came back, or even Nigel Benn tried to come back in his 50s. You know that, but it spoils it, and I think it's the same. I know it's not logical, but I don't want to watch the the kid fight in case I don't like what I see, and it will spoil my memory of the father. So the answer is I don't have the foggiest.
So you won't watch that?
No,
You
not
won't
at
get
all. I'll never. Maybe after the fact. Maybe in a few years' time when they're both retired, I'll go back and watch some of them. But no, I wouldn't.
Okay, so final question. If you think, talking about retirement, do you think Tyson Fury is retired for good now?
Yes.
You think
Yes,
that's it?
because when I watched the Fury fight, I don't think he looked confident. And one thing you can always see when you watch his previous fights, even the first Usyk fight, he looked like he thought he was going to win.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think he looked like that in his second fight. I think he looked like that. I think he took that fight for the money because he had to. Because if he wouldn't have taken that fight, everyone would have said to him, "You're a coward. Why won't you refight? Well, you were so eager to fight him in the first place. Why won't you do the rematch?" It didn't look like his heart was in it. I don't think he wants. Personal opinion only. I don't think he wants the prospect of potentially losing another fight.
Right.
I mean, if he fought, it'd probably be against AJ, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't, and I think he'd win that fight personally. But I don't think he wants the risk of losing another fight, and then suddenly when don't forget he was saying, "I'm the best there has been. I'll never be defeated." For Usyk, I'll never be defeated. Suddenly he's been defeated twice in a trot, a third one.
Yeah. People
are just going to say, yeah, he was an average. Now, don't get me wrong. I think this heavyweight division now is not strong. Is a hot take for you. I don't think anyone will agree with me. I don't think Usyk's that good a fighter when it comes to the history of heavyweights. Right now, he's the best there is in the heavyweight division. I'm not saying there's anyone better than him, but I think you put up against most people from the past, most of the greats from the past, I think he'd be destroyed. Wow. I think he would be found out. I just think he's the best, and so I guess you would say he is a generational fighter because he's probably the best we have in this generation, but he would be ranking low compared to all-time greats.
So who is your number one at heavyweight? I know Tyson was your favorite to watch and Lennox Lewis grew on you, but who would be number one at that list?
I'd have to say probably Foreman, maybe. I'd like to say Foreman. He's like
brilliant.
Bit controversial, but
yeah. It's the first time we've had George Foreman at the top. That's great. Okay.
I don't love his grills.
Yeah. All right, and also the Fury comments. Yeah, if he did come, I think losing to Usyk is one thing, a generational great. Losing to AJ would be a tough blow. But I mean, I didn't want to see that fight until now. Now I do want to see it. I've got no interest in it, but I'm now interested in it because they've both got so much to lose with that fight. I'm kind of intrigued by it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to watch it. I think it'd probably go. I think he probably would go the distance. Yeah. I think you're right about Fury, as in, I used to think he had the power.
Yeah.
But then watching the first Usyk fight, you could tell he didn't have the power in his punches. I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong, he'd knock us flat, wouldn't he? But compared to other boxers, but so I don't think he'd knock AJ out, even though AJ just seemed to like to go down on times. But and I don't think, and he can take a punch, can't he? Obviously, he can take a punch. So it'd go the distance. I think it'd be great. But I don't think it's going to happen. No, not necessarily. He always says he's got more money than Midas, and if that's true, then why take the fight? He doesn't need the extra money.
Yeah. Who knows? It's interesting. I'm the most interested in Tyson Fury's career right now. Now he's potentially retired than I've been throughout his actual career. So we'll see.
I would also say, I'm cutting you off here if you don't mind, David. I was thinking about your question you asked previously about watching live. Well, I haven't seen any big fights live. Again, I would recommend to anyone. I lived in Spain when they won the World Cup.
Okay.
And the atmosphere after that match was second to none. I mean, during the match, you could hear a pin drop in the street.
Wow.
After the match, it was mayhem.
Yeah.
And when I lived in the Philippines for Pacquiao's fights. It was this. I lived in Manila, where it's one of the most populous cities in the world. 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, you always got traffic jams.
Wow.
It was a busy city.
Right.
When Pacquiao fought, you could walk down busy streets without a single car driving. It was like a ghost town, and the people. So I would say to someone, I mean, let's be honest, unless you go to the nosebleeds, most people can't afford the type of seat that you'd want to watch a good boxing match.
Yeah.
Go and if you can't do that, take a holiday to someone's home country, especially if they're not American or English, and experience the atmosphere. It is purely magical. And then speaking to the people, the passion they have, when they're talking about one of their homegrown talents, it's just amazing. So I would say no, but recommendation to people, if you can't afford it, you take a nice holiday somewhere to where these boxers are from, and you watch the fight there.
That Pacquiao, I always heard that was the thing, that everything stopped for those fights. But it's the first time I've heard someone live that in real and see that, firsthand.
It was surreal. It was purely surreal. And
Wow.
That's how I thought, because I lived in Spain first, and where I lived in the business district, and it was busy. Yeah. And I remember going outside, and it'd just be no cars, and it's like, what's happening here? Even when there was monsoons and stuff, you'd still see people brave or stupid enough to be outside.
Yeah,
it wasn't the case. Yeah,
amazing. Yeah, I think Pacquiao's finally absolutely done it. Every few months, he's coming back. He's one more fight coming out.
It's money, isn't it? He spent all his money, so.
Okay. All right, Andrew. Look, what is your So give your pod a shout out, or any other socials you want to list.
Picture Scene Podcast. You can find us anywhere you find any podcasts. We are a true crime podcast, so we don't tend to talk about boxing or any type of betting. However, if you like a bit of murder or a bit of mayhem, come and listen to us. I co-host it with a lovely lady called Rachel, so you don't just have to hear my dulcet tones every time. And we're mainly audio. We're on YouTube, but there's nothing to watch.
You've got a new episode out soon, right?
On Monday. We've got a new episode out on Monday. We are talking about a case from 1983 where it was the first ever case featured on Crime Watch.
All right.
A lot of true crime fans love Crime Watch. It didn't get solved for 26 years, and how it got solved is very unique. So it's actually quite interesting.
Right. So I'm going to do episode 20 first, then I'm going to revisit the new one.
Fair enough.
Brilliant. All right, Andrew. Look, have a great weekend, and great to finally meet you. Thanks for all your support, and let's keep in touch. And hope to talk to you soon.
Cheers. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye, Andy. Cheers.